good morning, or should I say good afternoon by now, everyone, for having me. I was very, very excited to come here. It's really hard for me when I can't see you, because you see, people say, oh, get ready for your talk, prepare for your talk, but my only preparation, usually, is you. None of my talks sounds the same, because each room has its own energy and tells me something different. So, by now, I'm acclimating to the light, so hopefully I'm going to start to feel you a little bit more. My name is Magatte Wade, and I was born in Senegal on the west coast of Africa. And after my first few years in Africa, my family moved to Germany, then to France, and then I went to San Francisco, where I started my entrepreneurial career. I bring that up. Many people were born someplace, raised other places, and then started somewhere else. But in my particular situation, I like to always go back to something that really has changed my life, and it's the fact that I grew up, the first formative years of my life, I spent them with my grandmother in Africa. And because my parents had moved to Europe, and they didn't know if they were going to stay in Europe, so instead of dragging me around on an uncertain journey, they decided that I would stay with my grandma until they knew for sure. And what happened for me back home is that my grandmother allowed me not to go to school. I did not want to go to school, so she said, you won't go to school. And what was I doing? When everyone else was getting ready, going to school, me, in the morning, we had a huge family compound in Africa. You know, I lived in this huge family compound that's the size of a block, for example, in New York City, so it's huge. My uncles lived there, my aunts lived over here, the whole family, my cousins, everybody's mixed up. So I would have like 3 breakfasts, 2 lunches, 20 desserts, name it. It was a fun life. So in the morning, I remember at my grandmother's, she was the center house, and then all the, my little clan. And it was so strange that my clan was made primarily of little boys. And it turned out that for the rest of my life, most of my teams would be mainly made of boys. I was a tomboy from ever. So the story that I'm going to share with you today, it's a very personal story for me as to how I discovered Lyft, and the unusual way in which I discovered it, and the unusual Lyft that I discovered. So I told you that it all started in Africa, and then eventually life took me different places. And I started, like I said, my entrepreneurial career in San Francisco. It was in the time of the dot-com boom, and at that time things were really on in San Francisco. And there I discovered people who were basically creating something out of nothing most of the time. These entrepreneurs, they meet with one another. Everything you've read is not just simple cliche. It was simply the truth. I started working with companies like Google when no one knew how to pronounce the word Google. I started going to places like Netflix before it became a name brand, company. So one of the things that happened for me while there is English is only my 4th language, so bear with me sometimes. I first discovered, I was a headhunter in the finance industry. So my job was to find, for all of these tech companies and these startup companies, my job was to find them the very best that the world had to offer in terms of finance and accounting people. So from there, happened something for me. I was being very successful at what I was doing, and things were going really well. But a trip back home to Senegal, to my native land, really changed my whole life. I went home. Back then, I took my husband of back then, and I say back then because he died 9 years ago, but he was from France, and I took him home to discover where I came from. And there he was like, hey, I want to try that hibiscus drink you've been talking about all the time, and I want to see if you're doing it make it the same way you do yours. I said, no problem. And eventually something crazy was happening, because everywhere I would try to have it, whether it's at my relatives' homes or at the hotels, anywhere, they'll be like, lady, how come you ask me about this stuff? It's only people from the village who drink this stuff. What is it? And I said, but you don't understand. The hibiscus drink, bissap, it's a traditional drink for me. It is In Senegal, it is known as the juice of Teranga. Teranga means hospitality. That is what us, the people of Senegal, are known for, our hospitality. And this drink is a part of my culture, it's a part of who I am. And me not seeing it on that tray, you bring me a tray that's full of Fanta, Pepsi, and Coke, but I don't have my bissap, I don't have my hibiscus drink. Guess what it is, guys? Just like I'm standing on this rug. This rug is the world, it's the world culture. On it, I see America all over the place, but I don't see me. I am about to disappear as a cultural being, and that is not okay with me. And that's when I made my unusual discovery, my unusual lift discovery. That's when I started to put one and one together. And that's when the power of my mantra, which is criticize by creating, came about. What the discovery was, it was very simple. The power of consumer brands to basically make up whatever culture that you want to make. How many people in this room think that they know where the whole Santa Claus story, and even the little guy, the way he looks and his outfit, where do you guys think it came from? Thank you. Most people don't know this. Most people don't know this. And so for me, my discovery went further than that. My discovery then became that if indeed I wanted for Africans to change the way they perceive themselves and to change the way that the rest of the world, as a matter of fact, perceives us, whether they admit it or not, if I want to change the way that you guys in this room will perceive me and the people on my continent, I am going to have to rely on the power of consumer brands to do that. What does it mean? I have to create top premium brands that will share with you the very best of what my culture has to share. And that's how I'm going to join in with you in a co-creation phenomenon where we all finally can be sharing where we come from and no one gets left out. That's what I had discovered. Very few people pay attention to this. So, once that became very clear to me, what happens at the very same time is I found my lift. I found that passion in the world that started to differentiate me from my other fellow successful business people in the Bay Area. I have a lot of my friends who what they do in life is they have a nice life, they're great at what they do, they have a nice life, but they're still laying on the beach enjoying the sun. Where me, I'm out there in the field trying to get my little plane to take off. So from there, what I did is I started my first company, Adina, the beverage company, because the idea was very simple then. And although we were very successful at raising money, successful at finding buyers, consumer-based, all of that, eventually, the brand started moving away from what my vision was of this wonderful African-inspired premium line of drinks. We had taken in some venture capital money, and you guys know sometimes what VC money does. After $32 million raised, I found myself in the awkward and very hard need to move on. That's what I did. I moved on because this was becoming something that I did not sign for. So, technically, my first trial, my first prototype has crashed. It did crash. I left. And I went and I started again, which led me to my second company, a skincare brand. And on this one, just now, I started to feel like we're leaving the ground. We're leaving the ground. Because I'm getting recognition from the people that we know we need to get recognition from if we think that we are about to make it. In any case, what I want people in this room this morning to take away from this is I want for us to think about innovation not only in terms of technology. I do think that the greatest innovations that are yet to come are going to have to do with the human spirit. You have to try and start thinking about inventions from the standpoint of the humanities. Not not sure if this resonates with many people here, and my time is coming up, but one question I had for this room, quite frankly, is, how many of you here dream of creating a consumer brand? I see basically I see almost no hands. See guys, you're onto something great, my friend over there. This is what I'm talking about. Now, tech companies. Who is into tech companies here? Yeah, that's what I thought. You all want to do tech. Wonderful. More room for people like me. And I will change your life in ways you've never believed. Because who here doesn't eat? Who here doesn't drink? Who here is naked? Right? Do you walk bare feet? No. Now, I want you to go back and think about this. This is the power that I have over you guys. We will change your life day in and day out. From just these, the makeup that you put on, the shoes that you wear, the jeans that you wear, all of that. And people like me, what I'm going to try to do is to use the stories that I'm going to weave in these so that hopefully, while everyone is involved in the tech world, trying to turn us into more, bigger, stronger machines, I make sure that you don't lose the essence of who we are. I think the time has come for wonderful designs when it comes to humanities and how we interact with one another. That's going to be the greatest challenge going forward, especially as we get more and more invaded by technology. So, criticize by creating. I love the technology that we have, but I am quite frankly fed up with the fact that we forget that we're seated next to human beings, and that at the end of the day, we're nothing more or less than human beings. So my focus is on making the lives of human beings much, much richer from the human being standpoint and experience. So, 2 seconds left. I promise not to take over anybody's time. I hope this has awakened some people in the room, and I want to thank you again for having me. I truly appreciate it. Thanks.